Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting right into it, the real nail-biter finale of the Sri Lanka versus Bangladesh ODI series.
Yeah, absolutely. This wasn't just any match, was it? High stakes, a decider. It definitely had that big game feel.
Totally. So our mission today is basically to unpack how Sri Lanka managed to pull off that pretty commanding 99-run win.
Right, and look at the standout moments, the strategies, and give you the key takeaways from the series, a shortcut to being totally up to speed.
Okay, so let's paint the picture. Pallekele International Stadium, the decider, under lights.
Always adds a bit of drama, the lights.
It does. And Sri Lanka's captain, Charith Asalanka, wins the toss, chooses to bat.
A pretty significant decision, batting first. They clearly wanted to put scoreboard pressure on Bangladesh, especially after Bangladesh had squared the series.
Exactly. Counteract that momentum Bangladesh had built up.
And, well, they certainly posted a target. 285 for 7 in their 50 overs, a formidable total.
Yeah, 286 to win. That's always a challenging chase.
Yeah.
But let's talk about how Sri Lanka got there. It wasn't just the total, but how they built it.
You're spot on. The innings had a real shape to it. And central to that was Kusal Mendis.
Ah, yes, Mendis. A massive 124 off 114 balls. His sixth ODI 100, I believe.
That's right. And in a decider like this, the sources are calling it career-defining. It felt like that kind of knock.
What made it so special beyond just the runs was the timing, the pressure.
I think it was the control. He wasn't just like blazing away from ball one. He assessed things.
Right.
He picked his moments, picked his bowlers. The way he accelerated in those middle overs, that was calculated. It wasn't just hitting. It was systematically taking the game away from Bangladesh.
So it wasn't just runs. It was about disrupting Bangladesh's whole plan.
Exactly. Forcing bowling changes, putting doubt in their minds. That's what elevates a great innings to something, well, career-defining.
Makes sense. But he didn't do it alone, did he?
Uh-huh.
Asalanka, the captain, played a key role too.
Absolutely. His 58 was crucial. That partnership between Mendis and Asalanka, that was the core of the innings.
It gave them that platform.
It really did. Sri Lanka's whole batting approach seemed built around these big partnerships. They started, fairly cautiously.
Yeah, I noticed that. Not super fast out of the blocks.
Right, which might have been deliberate. Preserve wickets, see off the new ball, especially at Pallekele. But then, wow, they really hit the accelerator in the middle overs.
Spearheaded by Mendis.
Exactly. They maybe sort of slowed down a little bit in the last 10 overs. Could have perhaps gotten closer to 300.
Maybe, but the damage was arguably done by then. 285 was always going to be tough.
Absolutely. So Bangladesh walk out to bat. 286 needed under lights. What was the feeling? Could they do it?
You'd think they backed themselves, right? They've chased well before.
They have resilience, yes, but it just didn't happen this time. They folded for 186, all out in under 40 overs.
Wow, that's a significant collapse. Any bright spots for them?
Well, Towhid Hridoy, he showed some real fight, made 51 off 78 balls, a lone hand, really.
Just one guy getting a 50 in a chase like that. It's usually not enough.
It rarely is. The rest of the batting, they just couldn't cope, couldn't build any momentum.
So was it purely down to brilliant Sri Lankan bowling, or did Bangladesh contribute to their own downfall?
It's almost always a bit of both, isn't it? Sri Lanka's bowling was incredibly disciplined, but Bangladesh's main issue was, well, partnerships, or the lack thereof.
Ah, the contrast with Sri Lanka's innings.
Exactly. Sri Lanka had that huge Mendis Asalanka stand. Bangladesh, nothing really got going. Every time a partnership started to look a little promising.
Sri Lanka struck.
Precisely. They kept breaking through. Constant pressure, constantly having to rebuild. It just drains a team chasing a big score.
And that toss advantage they'd sometimes had didn't really help them here?
Not at all. Their strategy just didn't fire on the day.
Let's talk about that Sri Lankan bowling then. Who were the key players in applying that pressure?
The pacemen, definitely. Dushmantha Chameera and Asitha Fernando, they were outstanding.
They took 3 wickets each, right? 6 between them.
Yeah, ripped through the top and middle order. It wasn't just pace, it was accuracy. Chameera especially was hitting those difficult lengths.
That awkward short of a length ball.
Exactly. Exploiting maybe a known weakness for some of the Bangladesh batters, making them play uncomfortable shots.
And the spinners. Did they play their part too?
Oh, absolutely. They didn't just contain, they chipped in with wickets and kept the pressure cooker on. No easy overs, no release.
So, looking back at Sri Lanka's performance, what really stands out to you about how they executed this win?
For me, it's the clarity of their plan and, more importantly, the execution. Bat first, build partnerships, accelerate, post a big score. Then bowl with discipline, use the conditions under lights, attack with the new ball.
Sounds simple, but hard to pull off.
Very. But they nailed both parts. Mendis gave the bowlers something to defend, and the bowlers, well, they defended it superbly.
And flip side, Bangladesh. How could they have kept themselves in the fight longer? You mentioned partnerships.
That's the core of it, I think. They showed fight in patches, Hridoy's innings, for example. But to chase 286, you need more than patches. You need 2, maybe 3 significant stands.
Consistent pressure back on the bowlers.
Exactly. They needed to absorb that early pressure and then build. They just couldn't sustain it. Individual efforts weren't enough against that collective Sri Lankan effort.
So, thinking about this match, maybe for you, the listener, too, what does it reveal about that mix of, individual stars and the whole team clicking?
It's a classic example, isn't it? You need the individual brilliance with the Mendis century to ignite things, to give you that edge. But that brilliance has to be embedded within a solid team strategy that everyone executes.
So the individual performance lifts the team.
And the team structure allows the individual to shine and makes their contribution count for more. Sri Lanka had that blend. Bangladesh in this match didn't quite find it. The team execution supported the individual brilliance for Sri Lanka.
Okay, let's wrap this deep dive up then. The headline result. Sri Lanka take the ODI series 2-1. A really convincing win in the decider.
Absolutely. And Kusal Mendis, no surprise, was the man of the match for that 124.
And player of the series too.
Yep. 225 runs across the 3 games, average of 75. He was the anchor in every single Sri Lankan innings. Just immense.
A huge series for him. For Bangladesh, moments of promise, but ultimately that consistency just wasn't quite there.
That sums it up well. Sri Lanka's bowlers, though, Chameera, Fernando, with that pace and incision, backed up by the spinners, they really delivered when it counted.
Cool. So both teams now look ahead. T20I's coming up soon, starting July 10th.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things shift for the shorter format. Different game, different pressures.
Definitely. So here's a final thought for you to chew on as we finish up. We saw Sri Lanka succeed with this potent mix of individual brilliance like Mendis and disciplined team execution. Bangladesh, meanwhile, struggled with consistency and building those collective efforts. So what does this deep dive really tell us about what it takes to dominate in these high-pressure, high-stakes games? How crucial is that perfect blend between letting your stars shine and making sure the whole team machinery is working together flawlessly? Something to think about.